Hello! In today's video, we are going to continue our tour of New Orleans neighborhoods by geographic area. We are still going to be talking about a few neighborhoods that are close to Lake Pontchartrain today, just to the west of City Park. In my last video, we talked about all of the neighborhoods on the other side of City Park. We talked about City Park itself and all of the amazing amenities and activities that you can do there. So if you're looking for a deep dive into City Park, you can go to my most recent video before this one. So we are going to start with Lakeview. It's the biggest when you talk about this area in general, most people will just say Lakeview, and they're talking about these handful of little neighborhoods right there. But they are broken down into smaller neighborhoods. So we'll start with Lakeview first. This was originally swampland that was developed later, much later than the rest of New Orleans. In the 20th century, it was mostly developed. Lakeview has a very residential feel to it. I wouldn't call it full suburban, but it's definitely not an urban neighborhood either. So it's somewhere in between. There are larger yards in Lakeview. The homes are obviously quite a bit newer than the rest of New Orleans because it was developed so much later. Most of these homes are raised or ranch style, not quite as many multi-family homes in the Lakeview area, not as many rental properties in the Lakeview area. It has one main thoroughfare, Harrison Avenue, where you've got tons of restaurants, shops, coffee shops, your grocery stores, all of the things that you need. Some properties in Lakeview offer waterfront views. It's described as having a sparse suburban feel. A lot of the residents here own their homes. It is considered a good value. And the great thing about Lakeview is it is adjacent to so many different things. It's easy to hop on the interstate and get to, the rest of New Orleans quickly. City Park is a walk or a bike ride. And then you also have everything that Lake Pontchartrain offers. This area is big on marinas and sailing. And so living in Lakeview, if you have a boat, there's a place to put it. If you like to kayak, there's a place to go and do that. So Lakeview and the rest of these neighborhoods in this area offer that. Lakeview was heavily impacted by Hurricane Katrina. Most of the neighborhoods that we're going to be talking about today were, but they did recover nicely, and they are pretty much fully recovered at this point. So just above Lakeview, you will see the Lakeshore, Lake Vista area. And this is actually a really cool neighborhood that I just learned more about how it was developed. It's located on land reclaimed from Lake Pontchartrain. As a planned residential neighborhood in New Orleans. Now, this is not your typical the way that neighborhoods in New Orleans are developed. We don't have a lot of planned neighborhoods. It was designed following the Garden City movement and emphasizing self-sufficient communities, lots of green space. Lake Vista is a lot of cul-de-sacs, so little inlets. It's got much larger homes than you're going to find in, just your general Lakeview or Navarra area. It's mostly residential, single family homes, a few apartment buildings, but not many. And like I said, it was reclaimed from Lake Pontchartrain through a project initiated by the Levee Board in the 1920s. And also because of its higher elevation, because it was man-made, it was reclaimed land from the lake, It didn't suffer as badly in Hurricane Katrina. Again, if you're in Lake Vista, you enjoy proximity to Lake Pontchartrain with its all of the recreation. You can fish, you can walk along the seawall. You're still very close to City Park. You're very close to the marinas. Lake Vista is a great, interesting community in New Orleans with maybe larger traditional homes that you would see in other places more than, some of our very older architectural homes. And then we're going to talk about Navarre. It's just this very cute, quaint little neighborhood just below on the map of Lakeview. It's very quiet. This is not going to be a tourist destination at all. Really, none of what we're talking about today is a heavy tourist destination. There's a Delgado Community College is in Navarre, news station in Navarre. There's some of our very cool and famous raised cemeteries in the Navarre community. It's a small population, a couple of thousand. It's typically single family homes, again, that are about 60 years old. So again, you're not going to get, the 200-year-old properties that you see in some other parts of New Orleans, but they're still like mid-century-ish, cute little cottages. Navarre was also impacted by Hurricane Katrina, but they have rebuilt and are thriving. And so today we are going to end on West End, which is just a little sliver over there next to Lakeview. And West End is really cool. It has a really cool history about it. It was originally constructed in the late 1800s or mid to late 1800s. It became known as the Coney Island of New Orleans. There was an amusement park there. It had a roller coaster, a carousel, a Ferris wheel. There were boardwalks. We don't have anything like this in New Orleans anymore. There is a female sailing regatta in the southern United States that was based out of West End. So it's got some rich, like water-based history, but unfortunately, most of that area was severely damaged during Hurricane Katrina, and there are still marinas there that have redeveloped. There's still yacht clubs in this area. But they did not bring back the Coney Island. There's not an amusement park anymore. It's unfortunate, but it just didn't build back after that. So again, like all of these neighborhoods that we're talking about today, Lakeshore, Lake Vista, West End, Navarre, they are easily, you can access City Park. City Park is walking trails, biking trails, lots of nature, all of the museums we talked about yesterday. And then you also have the added bonus of being really close to the marinas if you like to fish, if you have a boat. This area in general is considered to be very family friendly. Lots of new and younger families live here. You've got more traditional sized yards. There's fences, there's sidewalks. These are communities where you would see kids riding bikes around. So very family friendly area. Still part of New Orleans, but it does feel a little bit separated because it's not only separated, one of our interstates goes right there along like where Navarre is. And then you've got City Park there. So it feels a little bit like its own thing out there. It's definitely a little bit different culture, but still part of what we call home, New Orleans. So would love for you to explore some more. As always, reach out with questions.